An M5.7 just struck Nias, Indonesia, 18 kilometers deep, 269 kilometers from the fault that triggered the 2004 Boxing Day tsunami, the one that killed 230,000 people. Here's what BMKG detected this morning and why this zone never stops shaking. This isn't just another earthquake. Nias sits on one of the most dangerous fault systems on Earth, the Sunda megathrust, a 5,500-kilometer crack in the ocean floor where two tectonic plates collide without stopping. When this same fault snapped in December 2004, it killed more than 230,000 people across 14 countries. Waves slammed into coastlines from Indonesia all the way to Somalia. The ground shook as far as Oklahoma. Now it just moved again. BMKG confirms the epicenter near Lahea, North Nias, directly above the Sunda megathrust. Residents in Gunung Italy, 62 kilometers away, felt it early this morning. People in Sinkil, 149 kilometers north, felt it too. This fault does not rest, and this morning it reminded everyone why. It started at 3:06 in the morning, local time. Everyone in the area was asleep. BMKG, Indonesia's meteorology, climatology, and geophysical agency picked up the signal just 4 minutes after the shaking began. The epicenter locked in near Lahea on the northern tip of Nias Island. Coordinates 1.25 degrees north, 97.2 degrees east. The depth read 18 kilometers. That's shallow. That matters more than you might think. Here's why depth matters. A deep earthquake to 200 kilometers down loses most of its energy before it reaches the surface. Shallow quake at 18 kilometers hits the surface close to full force. Think of it like a punch thrown from across the room versus one thrown from 2 inches away. In Lahea, 28 kilometers from the epicenter, the shaking was significant. Buildings rattled in early morning darkness. Objects fell from shelves. People ran into the streets. 62 kilometers south, Gunung Italy, a city of 136,700 people, felt lighter shaking. People felt their beds move. Parked motorcycles rocked on their stands. That kind of shaking at 62 kilometers from a 5.7 tells you the shallow depth was doing real work. This epicenter sits 269 kilometers from the fault rupture point of the 2004 Boxing Day earthquake. That M9.1 remains one of the most powerful earthquakes ever recorded in human history. USGS places its epicenter off the coast of Banda Aceh, northwest of where the ground moved today. The Nias region has been living in the seismic shadow of that event ever since. 3 months after December 2004, Nias was struck again. An M8.6 confirmed by USGS as one of the 10 most powerful earthquakes ever recorded, struck 30 kilometers deep, directly offshore this same island. At least 915 people died, most of them on Nias itself. 80% of buildings in Gunung Italy were damaged or destroyed, electric power cut off. Telecommunications went dark. Today's quake hit the same neighborhood, the same fault, same ocean floor, and that wasn't even the worst part. BMKG's instruments flagged this quake as a shallow subduction event that places it firmly within the Sunda megathrust system. The fault that scientists describe is still locked in several sections. Locked means stress is accumulating, stress that is not released yet. USGS tracking data shows over 20,000 earthquakes with a magnitude of 4 or above have struck within 300 kilometers of this region in the past decade alone. That is an average of 1 significant shake every 4 hours. This fault is never quiet. But today it got louder. Let's talk about who felt this and who was most exposed. The closest population to the epicenter is Lahea. 24,500 people. Low-rise construction. Many structures built without modern seismic standards. At 28 kilometers from the strike, BMKG estimates moderate shaking reached this town. That is the level where unsecured furniture moves, cracks appear in walls, and older structures take damage. 62 kilometers south, Gunung Italy, Nias's largest city, felt lighter shaking. The kind that startles you awake, but does not bring the walls down. Still, this city was 80% damaged in 2005. Its infrastructure carries the scars of that event. An M5.7 is not nothing here. 149 kilometers north in Sinkil, across the water in Aceh province, light shaking reached 46,800 residents. Further northeast, Medan, North Sumatra's capital, population over 2 million, may have registered the tremor. And watch what happens next. Nias sits 125 kilometers off the Sumatran mainland. It is connected by ferry. After major earthquakes in this region, those ferry routes become the only lifeline for relief supplies. Roads crack, cell towers go silent. In 2005, relief teams could not reach parts of Nias for days. BMKG has not issued a tsunami warning for this event. But local coastal residents were woken up at 3 a.m. with no warning at all. That is what life looks like 269 kilometers from the worst tsunami fault on Earth. Here is why this matters beyond one early morning shake. Nias doesn't just sit near the 2004 epicenter. It sits at the intersection of three separate seismic legacies. The first is the 2004 M5.7. That earthquake didn't just kill 230,000 people. It physically changed the planet. USGS confirmed it shifted Earth's rotation, shortening each day by 2.68 microseconds. It permanently raised global sea level by an estimated 0.1 millimeters. The Sumatran coastline, in some areas, rose by 1 to 2 meters instantly. The second is the 2005 M8.6 Nias earthquake, which is 90 days after 2004. Same fault system, same island. A different section of the Sunda megathrust had been holding stress. That stress released catastrophically. Over 1,000 people died. The number you are about to see stunned the researchers who published it. After 2005, scientists identified sections of this fault that still had not released their accumulated stress. Research published out of institutions, including the Lamontarodi Earth Observatory, indicates that some segments of the Sunda megathrust have been locked for 200 years or more. 2 centuries of the Indo-Australian Plate pushing under the Eurasian Plate, building pressure, going nowhere. Now, to be clear, today's M5.7 is not a major earthquake by global standards. It is a stress release, a small one. Think of it as a finger snap compared to the full fist of 2004. But seismologists watch these small events carefully. Some researchers believe clusters of mid-range earthquakes in locked fault zones can indicate stress. Migration pressure moving toward a section that is not broken in a long time. That is not a consensus. It is not a prediction. But it is a pattern that gets attention. What is not speculation is this. The Sunda megathrust produced the deadliest tsunami in recorded history. It has struck with MA torr force twice in this region in the past 25 years. And this morning, in the pre-dawn darkness of April 19, 2026, it moved again. The next 72 hours will tell us a lot. Because the question is not just what happened this morning, the question is what comes after. As of right now, BMKG has not issued a tsunami warning for this event. PTWC, the Pacific Tsunami Warning Center, has not flagged a regional threat either. For the immediate hours, that is the best case read. But 3 things need to be watched closely. First, aftershocks. After the 2005 M8.6 Nias earthquake, USGs recorded 8 major aftershocks within 24 hours, ranging from M5.5 to M6.0. After today's M5.7, smaller aftershocks are expected. In a shallow, locked fault region like this, those aftershocks can still cause structural damage, especially in buildings already weakened from previous events. Second, depth stays shallow in this region. BMKG data shows most earthquakes along the northern Nias segment of the Sunda megathrust cluster between 15 and 30 kilometers. That keeps surface shaking strong. Any aftershock in the M5 range will reach the same populated zones. Third, and this is the one to watch. In the past 12 months, this region has recorded multiple earthquakes, ranging from M4.8 to M5.7 within a 200-kilometer radius of today's epicenter. Seismologists describe this as standard background seismicity for the region. But some researchers flag dense clusters as a signal worth monitoring, the idea being that stress may be migrating toward a section of the fault that is not released in some time. Again, not a consensus. It's not a prediction. But it is on the watch list. Here is the realistic range. Best case, today's M5.7 is a standalone stress release. Aftershocks stay below M4.5. No structural damage beyond Lahea, no tsunami risk. Residents resume normal life by tomorrow. But and this is the framing BMKG's monitoring systems are built around. If a larger adjacent fault segment responds with a sympathetic release of M6.5 or greater at similar shallow depth, then coastal communities on the western shore of Nias would face both severe shaking and localized tsunami risk. BMKG has not said this is likely, but it is the scenario their instruments exist to catch. For the next 72 hours, BMKG maintains elevated monitoring. Seismographic stations across North Sumatra and the Andaman Islands will track every tremor. If anything changes, they will know first. 3 things to remember. 1. An M5.7 struck Nias, Indonesia, at 18 kilometers depth this morning, 269 kilometers from the 2004 Boxing Day tsunami epicenter. BMKG confirmed it within 4 minutes. Residents across North Nias felt it. 2. This is the same fault system that produced an M9.1 in 2004 and an M8.6 in 2005. 2 of the 10 most powerful earthquakes ever recorded in human history. Both from the Sunda megathrust, the same structure that moved this morning. 3. No tsunami warning has been issued. Aftershocks are expected over the next 72 hours. BMKG is watching. The situation is being monitored in real time. If you want to stay ahead of what is happening to Earth right now, subscribe. I post every time something major hits. Coming next, the section of the Sunda megathrust that is not broken in over 200 years, the Mentawai Gap. Scientists have named it, mapped it, and it sits just 600 kilometers south of today's epicenter. That video is on the screen right now. If what we just covered about Nias matters to you, what is building in the Mentawai Gap will genuinely stop you cold. Stay safe.